Welcome back to yet another podcast with Trey and Jake.
Hi.
I actually really hated that intro, so I'm going to do it
Okay.
again. Welcome to the Just My 50 Cent Minus 48 podcast. I am your host, 1989 TRE, with my man...
Jake Woodruff.
That's right. We got Jake Woodruff here doing this podcast with me today, and we're going to continue our conversation on music, but we're going to take a different element of it because there's a lot of different layers you can go to, and there's a lot of different elements that go into music. So Jake kind of brought it to my attention, and we're going to kind of go from there. So what we were talking about before we got the podcast started here today, a little bit about what inspires you as an artist and kind of what motivates you and how you progress in your art. So my first question to you, Jake, would kind of be in that exact vein. As far as music goes, at this stage, as you've made music, you've put out music, I know you're building your studio, you're starting to record more, you're always learning your craft, but
Yeah.
What first off motivates you to continue to keep going?
That's actually a good point right there because I've read some books before, like there's this one book called Songwriters on Songwriting, and it's like interviews with different songwriters talking to them about like how they write songs. And I notice a lot of them are just talking about like finding that inspiration and stuff. And that was something that I didn't feel good about because I like, how am am I just supposed to wait around till inspiration hits me?
Yeah.
Like, how long will that take? But now I've realized that inspiration is actually something that you can tune into. So that was something that I've practiced, like either first thing in the morning when I wake up to try to meditate for a little bit, or try to find a way for me to get into that zone. And it's kind of interesting how it's like before. You might have the feeling like, oh, I want to be so good that I can take, any subject and I could write a song out of it,
Right.
whether I am, like feeling it or not. But
Right.
it is really important to go with like what you're thinking about. So, when it comes to inspiration, I feel like it's very important. And also, the song that you decide to choose, say, for example, you're watching things about the news with Donald Trump and, that's on your mind right now. Well, it'd be better for you to write about a song that you have plenty of material to write about versus saying, oh, I need to write a new pop song. What is something that hasn't been written before? And then you try to do something that you think will be a hit,
Yeah, I think with me, I have a lot of those same things. One thing for sure that gets me is I've kind of gone away from that exact thing you were talking about, where you kind of just try to force yourself to write certain things just because you feel like that's what you should be writing at the moment.
Yeah.
Inspiration for me, it's all about my mood of where I am at the moment. So like if I'm not feeling love, I'm not going to sit down and try to write a love song. If I'm feeling hate, it's one of those times where I should go and write that. Just let it out, because that's where you get some of the crown jewels of your catalog. You'll look up and be like, man, this is some of my best work, and you'll start hearing people's reaction. Even with that same thing, and kind of flip that a little bit, if you write it and you don't feel like it's your best work, a lot of the times when you play it for other people, they'll listen to that same record and be like, man, I can feel the truth in this. I can feel the real behind this. And not to go too far off topic, but even with that, when you talk about the real behind it, I think that's a lot of what's missing in music right now. You have a lot of people that are chasing money. They're chasing the bag, so to say. So they're looking to get that paycheck. And with the paycheck, it kind of dictates your pace, your movement, and what you're actually doing, rather than letting the music dictate what you actually get. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think for me, motivation for me is just being able to create art and touch people with vocals. To be able to sit down in a studio or in a room or wherever you do your writing, and to be able to sit there and come up with something in your head that's completely 100% out of your mind, and to play it for an audience and watch their reactions, watch the eyes light up one by one. It's a high you really can't explain to people, And I know you get that, because we've shared the stage numerous times. But you can tell when you connect with an audience. You can also tell when you haven't.
Yeah.
You can look at people and be like,
Yeah.
they're not digging this.
Yeah.
Hip hop fans, eh?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that for me is a motivating factor. Always trying to be sharp, and I love the fact that you can go on any record because that was my original thing. I definitely wanted to be able to rap on any beat. Me and my cousin used to go back and forth, and he would be like, "Rap on this beat, rap on this beat, rap on this beat," and I'd be like, "Okay, I don't even know what to do with this. This sounds crazy," but that's why I can hear a song like what's your song? I can't think.
The Hermit song.
The Hermit song. Yeah. I can hear the Hermit song, and instantly I can come up with something. It's like, it's an acoustic record. If y'all haven't heard it yet, I'll tag it in this post there. But it's an acoustic record, but I can hear it and instantly be like, you know what? I got something for this. And I can start putting it together. It took me, I think, 15 minutes to write that verse. And it's not like it's the longest verse or the hardest verse I've ever written or anything. But at the same time, it's very in that pocket and it feels right for that record. So I think it's a skill set you want, but you also don't want to force it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I was and that's back to just saying that like all the best music is sincere, right? People do not like being lied to, so that's why when you hear a lyric with crappy lyrics, or someone singing it in a way that doesn't sound very sincere,
organic or real,
that's what people don't like.
People kind of like being lied to, though.
Yeah, maybe sometimes.
People don't really want honesty, though.
I mean, I guess there is some people that like even, some, but from my perspective, from Trey's perspective, the songs that we really like, I would say have a certain amount of soul in them, right?
Yeah.
That's what soul is.
You know what? It's soul, and not even soul in the classical sense of like that genre of soul per se.
Yeah.
Because that was more of like the funk of it. That was the era that it was, the James Browns and that kind of thing. But for me, when I'm thinking soul, it just means what that person's soul is.
Yeah.
Like I hear you saying LOVE.
Yeah.
And I know it's an older song that you wrote.
Yeah.
But I know from knowing you personally that's you.
Yeah.
That's actually you. You know what I'm saying? Like when you go out and you talk to women or whatever, that's real. That's how you feel. Yeah. And that's what you would want organically. I know when y'all hear me perform something like 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's organic. That's real.
Yeah.
Like I really feel like that. I feel pissed off.
Or what about
hard.
that? Or 50 Shades of Trey. That's the real Trey.
That's real. It's real, ladies and gentlemen. So it's it's interesting, to watch that and kind of know people and kind of understand when somebody's telling truth to you, when they're kind of giving you that, comparative to when you're just watching an artist make money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here's something that I'm curious about because it just came to me as I was saying, artists just making money. How do you feel about live shows in the sense of performance? Like, what do you feel like with a lot of these artists these days? I don't feel like they put the same effort into performance that a lot of the previous eras did. So, like, I know with acoustic it's a little different because you're typically more stationary and you're kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
But there's a certain lighting you can pick. There's a certain, like, once you get to that level, I know we are not necessarily to the point where we're saying, hey, light man, hit this, hit that, hit that. But, like, for the people that have made it to that bigger level, do you feel like when you go to a show, if you go sit in a concert and you're in the crowd and you're watching and you don't have special lighting, you don't have maybe dancers or you don't have this or that, do you feel like you're kind of being cheated out of your money, or is that okay for you?
Yeah, that is completely fine to me because sometimes when there's too much going on,
distracts you.
Yeah, like I've been to, probably not as many concerts as, like other people I know.
Like me.
Yeah. But the concerts that I have been to, like I've went to, okay, so here's an example. I have been to an Ed Sheeran concert. I've been to a Taylor Swift concert. I've been to a Aerosmith concert, Fleetwood Mac, and then I went to a Jake Shimabukuro one. So he is actually he's Asian, Japanese, I believe, but he lives in Hawaii and he plays ukulele. They call him kind of like the Jimi Hendrix of ukulele because he'll take
say the Geo of ukulele.
Yeah, the Geo. Yeah, someone we know personally. But this guy, he plays ukulele very well, and it's just himself. He doesn't have anything else, and he'll play that. And so I saw him at the I can't remember what the name of the place was, but I saw him at a theater, and it was one of those that it was probably one of my favorite, and he was just on a stage by himself. I don't think there was really any changes in light, or if anything, it's just red or blue, but and then Ed Sheeran, when I saw him too, he was just himself with a loop station, and then he had a screen in the back that would have like different filters, but nowhere near Taylor Swift, where she was over the top with the dancers.
Well, Taylor Swift has kind of crossed over though. She's pop now. right?
Yeah.
She's not just country anymore. So she's kind of gone in that direction of like, I'm putting on a pop show. Pop shows, and that's the reason she sold so many records worldwide. Ed Sheeran, see, I feel like with someone like Ed Sheeran, because of his talent and the fact that he is the entire show, that's all you really need. Because that loop station in itself is entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
Like Renee, for instance. I see Renee do the loop station. I thought it was the coolest thing I ever seen.
Yeah.
When I moved out here.
Yeah, a friend of ours, Renee Marino, he is talented with a loop station, which is a pedal that he can stomp on, and then he can record a segment of something, and it will continue to loop and replay as he sings other things, and he could do layers of it.
And he does it well. He does it very well.
Yeah.
And I just, like, for that kind of performance, like, I feel like a big screen that's giving off some kind of feeling, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
But, see, the genres you're talking about, it makes a lot of sense. Where it would be more calm, more basic. You really want to hear the clear vocals. Like, for instance, if I go to an Adele show, I don't want to see Adele dancing. I don't want to see Adele, like, doing Beyonce type stuff. I want to hear a ballad.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of what you're expecting. But if I go to a Kanye West show, I'm expecting all sorts of theatrics.
Yeah,
I want
that's
to see,
a little
like,
more challenging.
It's a lot more challenging. And see, with me, with a lot of rappers, they like to have 15 people on stage, okay? Mm-hmm. But a lot of guys have nothing to do with the performance, and that, to me, is more disturbing than anything else, I think. Because it's like, okay, I get the fact you're cool. I get the fact you have money, and these are your boys, and that whole thing. But, like, I like a performance from the artist. Like, when me and Lane used to perform back in the beach all the time, it was always, and that's my cousin again. I keep mentioning Lane. That's my cousin. We would always go up there by ourselves. You know, occasionally we would have maybe one guy with us, and typically it was the other person. But he would bring, like, my cousin's ex-boyfriend at the time. He would come up there, and you know, he knows the music though, so he's an integral part of the show. It's not just people standing in the back smoking, passing drinks, doing whatever. So for me, that's just annoying. It's just like, yo, why are y'all up there? Like, why are you even on stage? And I don't know. I think it all comes down to the demographic, though, like what kind of show it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, what I noticed recently, because I've kind of struggled a little bit when I perform to think about, like, what should I be doing? I know some people will say, like, oh, yeah, look into the audience and pick someone and smile and all this stuff. But then I see someone like Ed Sheeran, he basically closes his eyes when he sings. And he looks, you know, just kind of down, maybe around his guitar or something. And so I notice that there are different styles. But I notice a lot of musicians that I like sometimes, you know, it's natural for you to kind of close your eyes and sing. And the thing that's tough about hip-hop is because, you know, oftentimes they're playing a backing track and rapping on top of it. That's where it could look kind of weird to have an empty stage with a person with just a microphone rapping. You know?
Well, let me jump in here.
Yeah,
I've been to a couple concerts. Let me name a couple now that I've been to. I've been to Jay-Z on I want to say 3 different occasions now.
Yeah.
I've seen J. Cole. I've seen Lil Wayne. I've seen Kanye, and with those guys, Jay-Z is on stage by himself. He has one extra person, and it's a backing track.
Yeah.
And it's entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
He's not doing anything extra. He's one of the few lyricists, because of his vocal control and the way he can go. Like, that's the way I try to do my performances.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to be up there with a bunch of people, but when I saw him perform, I was like, man, this is me right here, because it's 100% him just giving everything he's got.
Yeah.
He sounds like his records. He's practiced his voice control, so when you're hearing it, because a lot of rappers, you'll get to the show, and it's like, this person don't sound nothing like the record. I never heard of this before. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
Why did I pay this money?
I've seen that too, of them just kind of yelling the lyrics and they're not on pitch.
Terrible. It's terrible.
Their timing's off.
It's horrible. And it's not something that's entertaining. But see, if you have a guy who actually knows his craft, it's completely different, I feel like, than somebody who's, you know, they don't know what they're really doing. They're just kind of there to collect the check.
Yeah.
It's a different mentality. So I think it all kind of breaks down to that.
Yeah, and that's probably the good thing, is just to see somebody who does it well.
Yeah,
you know, because otherwise, you know, it might seem like just a big empty stage, and that's why you need all those extra people in order to make it more interesting.
Right.
You know, I mean, even if, like, a rapper, for example, you know, this probably doesn't happen very often, but, you know, even having, like, a DJ around them, or a maybe even like a live person on drums or something like that, you know.
Yeah. Nah, that they do that on the like Kanye. He had an orchestra. I remember he did a string quartet in London.
Oh,
It was
cool.
amazing. I got the DVD, and it's very, very entertaining. Just to hear him go, and I remember him stopping the crowd. He was recording the movie. He said, "Y'all messing up my DVD." Like, when I say throw your diamonds in the sky, you put them diamonds up.
Yeah,
He was already
right.
crazy back then. That was after late registration, but it's like that kind of passion and that kind of artistry, because like I love the creativity of it. I love being able to say, okay, I think this, if I put this in the stage, everything I do has a purpose. I was looking back actually a week ago at the video I shot here the last Prestige show we did, and I came out with the blazer and I had the hat and the tie, and then I was doing 9 to 5 and I rip it all off. Now, mind you, that was spur of the moment, so it was real random, but I always used to do stuff like that anyway. I remember one of my boys watched me in Virginia Beach, and I had my hoodie up, and I had I'm the greatest. I said that before I knew I was, Muhammad Ali shirt on. But I had it zipped up a certain way. And then when I got to a certain record, he saw me zip it down. And he knew what I was doing. And, it was the Evil Empire. I had the hood on, but I had the shirt open.
Yeah.
So he was like, yo, everything you do is thought out. I can see it. Like, you're very meticulous with all your movements. And I'm like, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And he caught it. And I thought that was cool because even though everybody won't get it, for the people that do, I feel like it really enhances that experience for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All right, question. What was your first concert?
Okay.
Like,
so,
I want to know both. I want to know your personal, like, actual performance-wise. When did you first perform?
Okay.
And, like, in front of a crowd that was substantial. And also big artists
that I've seen.
that you've seen, the very first one.
Okay. So it's kind of hard for me to remember exactly what my first one was, but I think it was Keith Urban at the House of Blues in downtown Disney.
Okay.
And so that was kind of cool because I was probably around like 12 or something. And it was one, my mom played a lot of country, when we would drive in the car. And so, he had that song, Where the Blacktop Ends, which, so I kind of dug his stuff. And before that, I think I saw a little thing of like some guy who like played electric violin or whatever, but really Keith Urban is probably the first one that's like legit. But and then my first concert that I did for a large crowd was so there was a part of a like showcase. There was this one woman at the Celebrity Center in Hollywood.
Okay.
So it was a part of Scientology and stuff like that, which I have friends that are in that. And there was a songwriting teacher, her name's Dee Dee O'Malley, that I took lessons from. And since she was a Scientologist, I went over to take some courses, and they have some good things that they're promoting in there. So I really don't know enough to make an opinion. But anyways, I went over there, and they had a singing teacher who got together the showcase, and I became a part of it. And it was like a crowd for 300 people. They have this little I forget what it's called, but they had this stage up there, and I remember I only did like 2 songs that night, but it was one that we what was kind of interesting about it is because I felt more comfortable like performing on the street where I can just like sing and try to fill up a space. I could just try to reach, the people down the street with my music. Yeah, and so when we would rehearse for it, I'd be on the stage and it'd just be like the director and the sound guy, and I'd sing my song, and like every time like I felt uncomfortable, wasn't doing it. And then everybody else, we would have like, these really good like pop singers and stuff that would just like be killing it and everything. And then on the night of when it happened, everybody still did a great job, but I felt like I really shined more when there was like the 300 people.
Actually,
and
people
then,
show,
in the other case, there might have been something like a technical difficulty with like, the sound, like it just didn't work out on the night of. But everybody still did a great job. But like that was my kind of first where I was like, on a big stage, and there was like industry people, and some gave me cards and stuff like that.
How was that for you? Like, would you say it was more frightening than exciting, or was it more exciting than frightening to be the first time?
I felt like there was pressure on it, but I kind of felt like, it's what I should be doing.
Right,
like,
right.
I wouldn't want to just say, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to
Right,
stay
right.
home because I'm too scared, Like, I wanted to do it. I was just wanting to do a good performance. And even listening back to some recordings that I had of it, there are things I didn't like, but everybody, still, like, coming up, say, oh, I love that song, man, and,
Nah, for me, my very first concert that I went to, I actually went with my mom and my grandmother. They took me to, I was 16, and I had never gone to a concert. So it was like, man, I really want to get out there. I want to see these people. I want to know how it works, because they knew I was really into music, and I thought it was amazing. So the very first show that I got to go to was in the Hampton Coliseum, and it was Alicia Keys was the headliner.
Nice.
Which was very dope, because she's an amazing vocalist.
Yeah.
And the undercard, who was her up-and-coming person with her at the time, which was really dope, John Legend. Which was amazing, to
John
get both of them
Legend.
in one night, like the very first concert I got to go to. And he was, like, extremely unknown. And I think the third person, who was the opener, was Natasha Bedingfield, I believe.
Oh, I've heard of her.
So I had, like, 3 really, really dope singers in the very first concert I went to, and it was amazing. I also remember that there was this big lady beside me, and she ruined my night, because she was, like, sitting on me, basically. My grandmother was like, switch spots.
Yeah.
I remember that was hilarious. It made me laugh, because she was like, nah, she ain't gonna ruin your night, baby. I got you.
Yeah, right.
But I just remember, like, the professionalism of him. John Legend at that time, it was his very first album. I was in love with it, like the Holla Holla Holla, Ordinary People, all that stuff. Like, I was infatuated with that record. So when I heard he was on the card too, I thought it was gonna be the illest thing ever, because I was listening to college radio a lot, and they were breaking his songs. They were just playing them over and over and over again. But he never got up from the piano. Like, he was at the piano the entire time, which I thought was real dope. But it was just like, he never moved. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, to have a whole set and you actually don't get up.
Yeah.
Alicia Keys now, when she came out, actually Natasha Bedingfield tore it down too. Let me just be very clear. She destroyed that. If I'm talking about the right lady, which I believe I am.
Yeah.
But whoever the first lady was, she killed it. And I think it was Natasha Bedingfield. But when Alicia Keys came out there and the stage opens up completely, because as it goes, opener, the stage just keeps getting bigger, and then the headliner comes out and they lift that last curtain and they got the full stage. And she just had, like, this grand piano, these kind of, like, stairs that went down a certain way. And it was, like, just different things she could just walk up and go down and kind of go different angles. But her vocals, while on the move, were so impressive. I just remember being like, damn, this lady can really go. And she was fine as hell. Because it was like, I was 16, so that was 11 years ago. Alicia Keys was on fire.
Yeah.
But
this girl is on fire.
right, no, that way before that. But no, she was killing it, man. And I just remember I was very impressed by their poise on stage and how they control the audience and how into it people got, and just the excitement and energy and the faces. You look around and you see the people's faces, you're like, man, they're really into this right now. So that was real cool for me. And in my first performance, myself, I've always been the type to, like, run, hey, you want to hear this real quick? Hey, I got these records. You want to hear them? I got bars. Hold on, listen. Yo, Jay, yo, Travis, listen.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve. Hey, Lane, listen. But what I ended up doing was I went into a competition for the radio station, Z104 back home. And Shaggy was the guy, but he was putting together this thing called Shaggy's Music Expo. Like, he has this giant festival now, and it's called Shagfest. But he originally had Shaggy's Music Expo, and I was like, yeah, I want to audition, because he knew I could rap, but he was like, you got to audition like everybody else, whatever, I'm not going to just put you on. I'm like, all right, cool. So he had it at a skating rink, and we all auditioned first, and I just remember I go up, and everybody reacted like, yo, this kid is nasty. Like, their faces were, like, just blown away, and I remember being like, I killed that.
You mean after you did
after
your
I performed,
performance?
I just remember them being like, this, just everybody was so, like, blown, like, yo, this dude might win the competition, like, he just killed that. And I was like, I am in the driver's seat, buddy.
Right.
So and I remember he made a joke, because I put his name in that record I did Next Level, and I mentioned him and all the people from Z104 I worked for, because I had interned there or whatever. But I remember him saying, if that song blows up, you owe me royalties or something, because my name's in it. And we started laughing or whatever. But after that, the actual expo was the big show. That wasn't an audition. That was the actual show, because I made it clearly. And I was on first. I was the very first act of the night, and I remember my eyes were big as saucers. Like, I'm nervous as hell.
Yeah.
And they have a band go up that's not a part of the competition right before me. So I was like, okay. The drummer, I'm standing backstage, and the drummer is just pounding on these drums. He is destroying these drums. And I remember the adrenaline pouring through me because I could hear the crowd getting excited, and the drums boom, 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 boom. This dude is just destroying it. And I'm like, yo, this got my heartbeat going. I'm amped now. It went from nervous to like, I'm about to kill this stage right now.
Yeah.
And when I get out there, you know, I come on and I had done all this editing. I did a bunch of production. I had a Michael Jackson drop in the middle of 2 songs that I linked together. We only had 5 minutes, but I linked it together. I did 2 songs and linked it. But it was so much fun, man. It was a great experience. And I just remember that rush just got me. Like, I was caught at that point. I'm like, man, this is what I love. Like, I already knew it. And mind you, I think I was 20, 21 at the time. So clearly I knew it. I've been on it for a while for music. But that was the one for me. That was it. So, another question about music for you. With thinking back to your early days, right? Do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
Yeah, actually.
Not the entire thing, but like, do you remember a snippet of it, what the concept was, where you were headed with it, when you wrote it?
Yeah, well, so actually for me, a lot of my life, I was into drawing. So I'd say I didn't really start getting into music until I was like 18, 19.
Okay.
So it was a bit later for me, but I did like singing. And probably the first times that I was like, you know, this might sound funny because I'm next to you, but like the first time I actually started writing lyrics was like in middle school.
Bars.
And it was rap.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, bars.
So I like did some rap, you know, stuff. And it kind of started off because I liked, you know, listening to different things like, you know, when I was in middle school.
Scarface, Ghostface Killer.
Well, that's when, like, you know, Usher and Ludacris and stuff, like, yeah, you know, okay, you know. So that was going on. And then, you know, I listened to some Sublime, and there's that Love's What I Got.
Okay.
Where he goes, you know, life is too short, so love the one you got, because you might get run over, or you might get shot,
Hey,
you know.
yeah.
So, you know, there was that stuff. And so I tried writing some of my own, and kind of like what I do today, sometimes with my lyrics, is I'll put in some kind of weird, you know, kind of phrase that's not said in the traditional way, but I just kind of say it so I could. So I couldn't remember what those were, but when I started writing when I was 19, it probably happened more because of my songwriting mentor at the time, Dee Dee, that I was telling you about earlier. You know, I kind of took a songwriting course with her, and then I took some other, you know, like little private lessons where we kind of wrote some songs together. And I'm trying to remember, I can't remember what the first song was that we were working on when I was doing the longer course, but one of the very first songs that I wrote was this one called Maybe You'll Hear Me. And that was one that, like, maybe I wasn't really coming from a place of, like, you know, writing a song that really had to do with my life. It was more a story song. Okay. And so and maybe I was going a little bit too dramatic with it, but the idea is that there was like a single dad who is a poor musician, and his child gets taken away from him, and so he writes a song saying, maybe you'll hear me, you know, if I write the song. So it's the chorus kind of goes, I apologize, I'm no good with goodbyes, oh baby, I'm sorry, na 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 na. Well, maybe, oh maybe you'll hear me. You know, which actually that could be a good one for us to write a lyric. We could change it around a bit, but that was one of the first ones that I worked on with Dee Dee and stuff. And and my mom likes it. You know, well, there's a bunch of songs my mom likes who says like, you should sing that one again.
My mom's the same way.
Yeah.
For me, it's funny because you said you started with rap, and for me, it was poetry. I started with poetry in third grade, and that's what caught me.
Yeah.
And fourth grade is when I started to rap, and I was actually just talking to my boy Clark yesterday, or 2 days ago, I think. But you know, he goes by Young Freeze now. But we started writing together. We were just talking about it, how we used to write on his back porch. We'd be sitting out there, all of us with our pads, just, oh, that's whack. Oh, that's whack. Racing, going back and forth. So, man, we were early, man. I'm talking like, fourth grade when we started writing. So, like 9 years old, 8 years old. I always forget what age you are at that. But anyway, in that ballpark. And I just remember the very first one I wrote. I remember being in class, and we had construction paper. And I just had bars come to me. I've been listening to the Dre Chronic 2000 album.
Yeah.
Or 2001 album. And I was like, yo, I was calling myself Dr. Trey at the time.
Oh, okay.
That was the original stage name. So I literally was like, people sitting on the side of the road like they forgot about Dre. Verse 1, you think I'm done? You better run, son. I don't remember none of the rest of it. But I remember it was a bunch of like rhymes that had nothing to do with anything. They
that's what like pop music generally is right now.
So
you were doing a pretty good job from the beginning.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Like I could definitely do what they do right now back then. Because I remember I took it to Lane. I was like, yo, Lane, check this out, son. I'm a rapper too. He was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Like, right. What is this trash, man?
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense. You just rhyming words together. I'm like, that's what rappers do. They rhyme words. I rhymed them. Look.
Yeah.
You know how long this took me?
Yeah.
He's just like, nah,
it's entertaining, ain't it?
Exactly. Yeah. He's like, nah, man, that's whack. But that wasn't my first song. I didn't actually write a song completely. I used to just write verses. So I would write a complete verse, but not a song. So me and my cousin Monet, this is pre-deep voice Adam's apple popping out Trey, light voice, and we actually used to write songs. We would write full songs and stuff, so I could sing. I was singing higher and everything.
Oh, cool.
But it was this song that we had called Many Nights I Have, and there was another one called 101. So we were writing those two songs. But Many Nights I Have, I want to say it was something like many nights I have been thinking about you. I lay in bed dreaming about you. I think in my head, do you love me too? And then she comes in. I sit on my bed waiting by the phone. I wait for your call 'cause I feel alone. Wanna hear your voice 'cause I know you care. Wanna hear those words that you'll always be there. Said I love you, girl. You are my world. Wanna share my life with you. Something like that. It was like that kind of harmony. But we were in 6th and 7th grade respectively. I was in 6th, she was in 7th. And it was just like, I think that summer I started to have my voice change a little bit. So it was like, no, it came back like what you just heard. That's what came back right. Like. Instead of like, said I love you, because I was there. That's what it was, But it was
I could
funny.
Sing that now
I know.
for you, yeah.
Nah, it's funny because like it was just a lot of fun, man. Like the process of writing to me has always been a lot of fun, and just coming up with stuff. And I don't know, I've always just kind of, I guess it's what you call the gift of being able to write and hear music, because like you said, even my very first rhymes were enough, like they rhymed, they actually flowed. It was a flow to what I was doing. It wasn't,
it's good enough for the radio
for an 8-year-old. That was impressive, so like I don't know, I think it's very, very entertaining, and I always found it very very interesting to learn somebody's process and kind of what makes them tick and how they work and where they go with these kinds of things. Do you feel like with your music, you make better music with a happy attitude or a darker attitude? Like if someone scorned you, do you feel like you go and sit down and you can write a better song than if you're in a place where you're just happy?
Yeah. So I think Trey knows this answer already, but for people who don't know, it's good for him to ask it. But yeah, generally I enjoy writing happier songs because when I don't feel good, I don't want to do anything, But what I want to do was because there was a time where I was kind of thinking about, well, I do notice the importance of kind of writing whatever, vibration you are on.
Definitely.
So that's something that I think I'm going to get into a bit more. Like I wrote a song called It's Been Too Long, which was a while back, and it was like a kind of a breakup song, but I wasn't in a breakup when I wrote it. I kind of wrote it as like an inspiration, like to some of those, I like a lot of those Temptation songs where it's like, I'm losing you kind of thing.
Right.
So I want to write a song that was a bit more kind of edgy and stuff. But, I'm not very good I haven't been very good at writing sad songs because I don't like to feel sad. But I have found times where, I might write something that starts off a little bit, more negative, and then by the end of it, I'll kind of turn it where it's a little positive.
It's so funny because I used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Because I used to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
I used to be really nice to people.
Yeah. But, I would like to, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to open up and kind of realize about going with the flow of because, it will be on my mind. Like, if I'm not feeling good, it'll be on my mind. Sometimes I'll talk to other people about it, and it's like, that's the time where you put it on paper and turn it into a song.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I'm just transitioning, I want to have more range of different styles of songs, more material. And someone will vibrate with it. Someone who's on the level of that song, they're going to love it.
It's just when you're real, man. You got to, there's so many groups, cliques, categories, there's a person that feels like you feel, no matter what you're feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody out there is having that exact same sentiment, that exact same emotion. It happens no matter what. You know what I mean? So for me, I used to be the same way, like with my music. I'm older than Jake, but not by much. Yeah. But
old man.
Way back when I was Jake's age.
Yeah.
I used to definitely more so in my early 20s and late teens. I was more of a happy music guy. I didn't like to write dark music.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I actually wrote a dark song. It was MySpace days. And I had this extremely fine girl who will remain nameless because I don't rock with her like that right now, but she's still fine. I can't knock that. Uh-huh. But I remember I was dating her, and she ended up cheating on me. And I was like, oh, you piece of crap.
Yeah.
I was so pissed. And I made all this music that was real, lovey-dovey and kind of happy, and, all these records on MySpace that were getting all these hits. I was getting crazy views on MySpace. People were rocking with it heavy. And, at that time, I think I was 18, 17, so I was in love. Mm-hmm. Jake, I was in love. Wink, wink.
Yeah, right.
You're 18. You really, So
yeah.
I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, it's the end of my world. What am I going to do? She was so fine. I'll never find anybody like her. It's over. But I go on the Kanye West Through the Wire beat.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a stripped down version. So it was just acoustic.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fucking fire. The beat was fire. And I was like, I got something for this.
Yeah.
So I started writing. But I listened back to that record, and it sounded so depressing. It literally sounded like I was in the booth baby did me wrong. I didn't like the way you did it.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing is just, it just sounds like I'm crying.
Well, I mean, doing that on the song The Wire, Kanye West did it with his jaw sewn, up.
It sounded crazy, but it kind of allowed me to tap into that emotion. And I think at that point, that's where I realized, I can write this kind of stuff without feeling, and I put it up, and I remember people were like, yo, you shouldn't write stuff like this shit whack.
Right.
A lot of people giving me that kind of review. That was the first time I'd ever had people kind of like, no, I don't like this. I don't like it. This is not what we come to your page for. And I was like, I don't care. And once I got to that point, I started to turn into this jackass I am now. It was every time I would actually get more writing skill, so to say, when I'm in a dark place. If people piss me off or I go through a breakup or whatever, I can write 9 million records. My ex, when we were together, I didn't write much music. The moment we started having problems, I wrote 4 or 5 songs immediately and recorded them.
Yeah.
Put them out immediately.
Yeah.
Because it was all of a sudden that inspiration, that's the energy. Oh man, I know how to write that. And it's not saying I can't write a happy song, because like you said, 50 Shades of Trey and that kind of stuff, that's happy to me.
Yeah.
I'm happy, it's sexual, but it's happy. It's I was in a good place. I'm talking about her and I'm talking about us and what we do. Whoever the person is that I'm picturing at that moment. Yeah. But with those kind of records, I just feel like it's just personal. It just gets to that point, because I got that one record that starts off, I hope I see you in my dreams tonight, because that's the one time I see you when we don't fight. Mm-hmm. That's a crazy way to start, but that's exactly where I was in my head, because it's when I look at you in person, all I feel is angst, anger, like it's just pure aggression. Like I don't see anything in your eyes or behind you or nothing in this person right now, this being that I love, that I like, that I want to be around. But in my head, I know that I feel all those things for you, and we might just be in a pocket that it's not going well. So I'm in my head, I'm thinking, I want to see you in a place that I can control everything. Let me see you in my dreams, because I know that version of you will live up to my expectations. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I don't know. I think it can come and it can be a little darker at times, but at the same time, I think that kind of energy can be positive too, because once you get it out of your body, it's a lot easier to move past it for me, at least. I don't know if that's the same for you, but when I write those kinds of things, even if it's a free write, even if it's not a record, and I just put words back to back to back, because one of my old English teachers, Mr. Granger, he actually made us do free writes, and he would say, when you stop, you write the same word over and over and over and over again until the next word comes into your head. So you just keep writing. You just write and write and write and write and write. And you can do it for like 5 minutes. And in the next class, you make us do it for 10 minutes. And you do it for 5 minutes again. And you do it for 10 minutes. But it's just non-stop. And it helps. It's like therapy for me. It's like laying on somebody's couch, casting couch. Like
right. We basically inherited the
casting couch.
We have a couch that kind of looks like that.
For all children listening to the podcast, you shouldn't have been listening anyway.
Right. But the thing is that as he was saying about being able to write a song when you're not feeling good, is that I think what's really good about it is that you have like an intense emotion, and it gives you focus.
It's not balanced or even kill. It's like you have a one way or the other.
Yeah, and then that's why like having when you're excited, that's where a lot of stuff could come out too. Yeah. But I feel like sometimes it is easier for the average person to kind of get that intense, that focus from feeling bad about something than how often. I mean, it's something you have
Ladies
to practice.
And gentlemen, Jake Woodruff just called me average. I didn't appreciate it at all, but I'll take it. Whatever. Go ahead with your point.
Well, get used to it. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I see is that anytime you feel kind of intense emotion, that's when it's good. When you're in that kind of spot where maybe you're kind of bored or, you could even write a song when you're feeling that way too, but I'm just saying it is much easier when you write from a place of,
a heightened place of energy, one way or another. Where you have, like,
whether it's good or yin or yang.
Facts. Let me see. Is there anything in particular that you would say inspires you more than others? Like, I know you said being in a happy place and that kind of thing, but is there something that more than once in your life, an event or something that you're triggering, a show or something in general that you watch and you're like, yo, I feel like I can write something. Like, I got something. Or if you've seen a movie even that instantaneously you left and you were like, I have to go write something. Because specifically I can say, This Is It, Michael Jackson. I wrote the whole last verse of Poppin' Tags. That's on my first mixtape. Oh, okay. I literally woke up out of my sleep, and my cousin can attest to this in Seattle, Letty. Lettuce, I see you. But she definitely can attest to this, because I literally woke up that morning after we saw the movie, out of my sleep, and lyrics, as the sun was shining, because we got a window directly above my bed, right? So there's a window right above my head, sunlight shining down. The movie was in my head all night, and I start rhyming. I start rhyming. I'm like, yo, that's kind of dope. I'm like, all right, mumbling, and all of a sudden, bars started to come to me, and so I woke up and I wrote the whole thing out of my sleep, just like literally. And I played it for her, and she was like, "Where did this come from? Weren't you trying to finish this last night?" I was like, "Yeah, it's just here. I don't know. It just happened." But do you have anything like that you have those kind of
that I can do points in order to inspire myself?
No, there's just something that has caught you in the past that's just like made you instantly go to writing. Like, was it a show, a movie, a book, a poem, a person, a smell?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of find like I am trying to get better at, like, Trey is on a roll with writing, and it seems like when he was saying he was doing those practicing by just writing, for an hour without stopping. That's the kind of thing that, sometimes because I overthink things, or I might, make it so I might feel a little bit of inspiration, and then I might think about, oh well, I have to set up this first, or I have to do that, and it kind of kills. And so I've been getting better at trying to follow the inspiration, instead of like killing it, a little bit. And so that's why I might write songs like a little bit further apart from each other. But some of the things that excite me are like some of those movies where it has like the music and the visual part of it, like that movie
Inception.
Inception. Well, I was thinking, have you seen that movie Moulin Rouge?
Yes, actually. Yeah.
So that was
Great
one
movie.
that like excited me because
It's an underrated movie too.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even aware that like they were having all these classic songs that they like wove into the storyline. And it was one that was like gave me chills and stuff. Like there's this part, Ewan McGregor. So I mean, just to give you a little bit of an idea of what the movie's about, it's kind of like placed back in like the early 1900s or something.
Something like that.
And Ewan McGregor comes from like a rich family, but he is like a songwriter. And so he moves out to like this very culturally diverse area.
Vibrant place.
Yeah, like the city where there's a lot of...
like Trey moving from Virginia to Long Beach.
Yeah. Long Beach is the... Yeah,
like
exactly. Where you're in the deep culture right here. And so he goes over there and he ends up going to a brothel dance, like it's an area, kind of like a gentleman's club or whatever, but all these women do synchronized dancing. And
also sounds like Trey.
Yeah, and he falls in love with a prostitute, just like Trey.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And so he falls in love, and then there's this big scene where basically he ends up going and getting like a lap dance from her, and she thinks that he is like this hotshot Duke guy or whatever. And so he thinks he's going over telling her about like, some songs that he's been writing, and they both get confused and stuff, and then he lets her know, and she starts laughing, on the ground rolling, and then he is kind of embarrassed, and then he starts singing his song, which is actually one of my favorite songs that I first sang in karaoke was Elton John's Your Song.
Okay.
So in the first, he's kind of reading the lyrics as if, he is just reading them out. He's like, well, I know it's a little bit funny, these things I do, and then he gets to the big part where he goes, my gift is my song. And then she's like, snaps her head and she's like, what the hell? Like, her jaw drops and she's like totally turned on. Then he sings, and you could tell everybody that this is your song, and it's just very big, and it's one of those that just excites me. And so movies like
type,
movies like that, and then movies like Across the Universe, and some of these other ones where it's like it really makes you feel like music can freaking like just change a person's soul, where it's just like deep, it feels like the hand of God, like you know what I mean?
I do, because like
really big.
For me, I think mine hits me when it's a movie that captures my brain. Anything that stimulates my mind and makes me feel an emotion is a good thing. Even if it's a negative emotion, a sad emotion, a happy emotion. If you can make me feel an emotion, you're already in the right direction. But those giant productions that make me think a lot, they triggered the creativity in me where I'm like, yo, you know what? I think I got something. It typically goes like that. Even if it's just creating like some kind of content like this where I get on a podcast or I go and do whatever. Like, for instance, Guardians of the Galaxy. When you look at stuff like that where it's like, oh my God, look at the colors and the little baby tree dancing and raccoons and giant gray men or green men or whatever color Batista was.
Yeah.
Great movie, by the way, if y'all haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy
I saw
too.
That.
Amazing movie. But to have that kind of stuff, it gets me. Stuff like Interstellar gets me. Like, it's mad trippy.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yo, you have to see Interstellar. Interstellar is a trippy movie. They have one part, like, where I won't spoil too much, but one part where they go down to a planet, and something about the way it's rotating or the speed of the planet or something, when you touch the planet, you lose, like, years at a time. So when they come back out, it's like 20 years has passed or something. They've only been there for 30 minutes or something like that.
And so he aged?
Yeah, like everybody, the people that were outside of the atmosphere that were up, they stay one age, and then when you go down, you still stay like you are, but when you come back out, everybody else is older. You're like, yo.
Oh, so you're the
you're the
same
same,
age, but everybody else
is because it took so long, that venture, but you didn't realize it. It felt like 5 minutes or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Crazy movie, trippy movie. But that kind of stuff gets me because it makes my brain start going, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm inspired. I can think of something a little creepy here, something a little weird. Or, for instance, not to keep pushing this song, but 50 Shades of Trey.
Yeah.
Clearly it was 50 Shades of Grey. I went and saw that movie, and I was like, yo, I'm into some of this shit.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like all of it or nothing. Like, I'm not trying to abuse nobody to that degree, but, you know, it's like, I think it was more of the cinematic aspects of it. Like, when they were in that plane even, and they kind of flip over. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but when they're in the plane and they're kind of flying, and then just the baller stuff that they're doing kind of got to my head. I'm like, yo, that's dope. You know, that's where I see myself in a couple years, like being a boss that's got this kind of setup, and I can do these kinds of things. I think that would be awesome. So I think that aspect is what actually caught me more so than the sexual element of it, which is funny. Because you would think, listening to that song, that it was just the sexual element, but not really. That's not what got me. It was actually the other part.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I think inspiration and beginnings and stuff like that is always interesting when it comes to music and motivations and pretty much everything we touched on in this particular version of this podcast. I think it's very, very enlightening to other people that are doing the same thing and people that are trying to progress in music, because we all got the same type struggles, different ways maybe, but same type struggles. Because I'll look at you, and we do completely different styles of music, and like I write of anger a lot of the time, and you write of happiness, but at the same time, it's like it's all the same grind. You know, we all got that same vibe and everything.
Yeah, and that's sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but I
good,
was just
good.
saying, you know how some people will always say there'll always be someone better than you,
Right.
and I like to turn it to say there's always someone you can learn from,
I
because then
completely
you're
agree.
not making them an enemy anymore,
I
and it's
completely agree.
exciting that you could continuously improve.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's better than anybody. Honestly, it's the same thing. I feel the same way with like jobs and companies with bosses and like presidents and people like that. Like, you're a person.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. It's not. I respect your position. As long as you respect me, I respect you.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to go out of my way to say, oh, this person's better than me or that person. No, you're in a different situation.
Yeah.
You know, and that's differences are what make people.
You basically have a gold star.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I'll give you a gold star. You can have that. You
Yeah.
know, but I don't know. But I do want to close this. I'm going to close up this podcast because it's been, I think, rather informative for folks.
Yeah.
And Mr. Jake Woodruff, I'd like to thank you for joining me again on this podcast that is just my 50 cent minus 48. And for those of you who don't get that, we're talking about our 2 cent. So I would like to go ahead and thank you again for joining me. And, man, I look forward to more in the future.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun, and hopefully everybody else is getting some out of it too.
Also, people pressing me in my inbox about podcasts. Leave me the hell alone. I'm talking to you, Dakota.
Yeah.
I'm out.